And go. Hey everybody, it's Edwin, Sheila, and Andrews. We're going to be talking tonight about the Shadow Lurkers movie, all the updates, as well as some of the and any of the other questions. So let's go at it, and welcome everybody. Hey Andrews and Sheila, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
So first off, you know, two weeks ago we were doing Hangouts every day, probably 8-10 hours a day, and this last week we both pulled back, you know, to get our lives back in order, as well as you had some interesting things happen to you, Andrews.
Well, yeah, and a little bit, we did a little recorded Hangout this morning, which I think was good to summarize it, because we're just, I'm admitting live that we're figuring this out as we go, so it's a fun experiment. But before we released the movie, we did a bunch of Hangouts, and then that first week we were just, you know, hanging out, telling people about it, and that was a lot of fun. And in fact, it was kind of almost addictive to get caught up in how much fun that part of it was. And then I woefully neglected the homework side, which is I still have a movie to prep for and presentations to prep for. So that next week, since we seemed like we got the ball rolling, I sort of buckled down and did the sort of nuts and bolts work of prepping for presentations. Oh, and you were alluding to good stuff. Well, all the Hangouts, we got a ton of viewership. So far we're at 500,000, and that definitely caught the eye of studios, which was fantastic. And we started immediately getting calls from some of the big people. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention it, but I will. People like Universal, Paramount, Warner, MGM, Lionsgate, DreamWorks. A lot of people have expressed interest. So that kind of goes with what I was saying, is the second that happened, I realized, okay, I need to start prepping, because in a week or so we're going to go in and do presentations to the studio on what the film is. So we've been really struggling with the balance of how much can we hang out and spread the word, at the same time prep for the job at hand. So it's definitely a lot to do, but I miss Google Plusers. That's why we're back.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm not into entertainment. You know, this is my first experience with hanging out with you and entertainment and Hollywood people in general. I'm noticing different levels. You know, like you're talking to, you know, William Morris and Paradigm, and they talk to a different level of you know, of people. And how many levels do you go through before you actually you know, hit the start button to start recording?
Yeah, that's actually not an easy question to answer, because there isn't really one answer, but I'll do my best. And I'm going to preface this by saying, I've been a commercial director for a while, and I'm just now segueing into features. So I'm new at this, so I'm learning too. So take everything with that grain of salt. But and then I'm also going to preface this by saying there might be a typical way, and then there happens to be the way that this is going, and I don't know if this is typical or not. But very, very luckily, I'm repped by a place called Leverage, and they're a management company, and they do everything from manage talent, actors, writers, directors, to also producing shows. For example, they produced the show Entourage and Boardwalk Empire. And one of the managers there is a great guy named Peter Sussman, and he's been with me since I did the very first movie I ever did, which was called How to Rob a Bank. And the reason I bring them up is they're a management company. Now, they're sort of helping me promote the movie, but their 2 cents was it would be the healthiest way if you guys got the ball rolling, and then we came in afterwards and said to people, look what they're doing on their own. So the success till now, they've been very supportive of, but they haven't actually been like pushing it. It's truly been an organic effort from fans. Now, to make things complicated, so that's a management company. Then you have agents. If you watch Entourage, you might sort of get that world. And that's agencies like William Morris or CAA or Paradigm. And if you watch Entourage, that's the character Ari. And even so, and agencies, they represent actors and writers and directors as well. But that's where it gets confusing, because managers and agents are slightly different.
So they're not agents. They're just managers.
Well, Leverage are managers, whereas William Morris are agents. And the industry's changed a little bit in that agencies particularly big power players like William Morris, have gotten more involved in helping package movies. So they'll say, okay, here's a great script, here's a great director, here's some great actors. Let's bring this to Universal Studios and see if they want to do it. So because studios are so busy, I think they've started to rely more on agencies to help pull up a package together. So Leverage will bring a concept to an agency. The agency will help package it and then present it to studios, and then studios start talking about whether it's something they want to do. Now, I don't know if that's typical or not, but that's kind of how it's going with this project. William Morris took interest in us because we had got so much interest just on our own with fans, and they thought that was a really nice statement, on top of just liking the concept, which, you know, can't forget that the teaser film we made and the concept has to be good in the first place, otherwise this is all moot.
Yeah.
So they started making other people aware, like, look what these guys are doing on their own, and then sure enough, you know, studios called back and said, hey, we're impressed by it. So I'll continue to give these updates because I'm going to learn as I go along. But I hope that basically answers it. That's kind of how it's gone so far.
Okay, and then the next step is you're going to pitch, and when, you know, have you pitched with the How to Rob a Bank, right? Or did that just come into your lap?
Yeah, and I tried to keep life a little easier on you since it is so convoluted. The way movies get made, there's about 50 ways to get made. There's your typical studio movie, say Universal Studios, or let's say Sony Pictures, and Paramount, and they've got to deal with Adam Sandler, and they always make his movies. Or, you know, Tom Cruise is with the studio. But then more and more movies, particularly in the last decade, are getting made by producers with funds that have deals with studios. So, for example, the first Harry Potter movie wasn't made by, I forgot who it is, Warner Brothers. It was made by a production company who got the rights and had a deal to distribute it through Warner Brothers. So the reason this gets confusing is you can make a movie any one of those ways, and they're all legitimately successful ways. Like that whole Saw franchise made a ton of money. Those were just investors coming together and putting out the movie and getting it distributed through, I can't remember, Lionsgate or something. The point of me saying that is that's how to Rob a Bank happened, is it got a lot of interest from producers, and then the Weinstein Company and IFC then distributed it after we made it. Sounds like what's going on with Shadow Lurkers so far is studios and financiers are sort of interested. So we'll let you know how that goes. There's pros and cons to both ways too. There's, you know, in one case you get a little more ownership and control, but you might not quite have the marketing arm of a big studio. On the other side, a big studio can really help push a movie, but it might not be as much of ownership in that franchise.
And throughout this whole process, you still have a daytime job.
Yeah. I'm a commercial director, and the wonderful thing about being a commercial director, and I say that a little bit humorously, is you never know when you're going to get called up for a project. You can be working back to back to back, or you can get a call, sit around for a little bit, and then get a call and say, we need you right away. And that's what happened just the other day. I'm supposed to be doing meetings late this week and early next week, but I got a call from USA Network, NBC Universal, who I do a lot of work with, and they carry the show WWE Raw, the big WWE. Well, everybody knows WWE. It's huge, and they want to do it, and they want to do a spot because they're going to be doing a whole new time for their show, and they want to make a big deal out of it. And they happen to be doing a big show in Indiana, which just meant we have access to all the wrestlers and athletes there. So late on a red eye tomorrow night, I'm going to fly out, prep for a couple days, shoot really quickly, and then fly back as fast as possible so we can meet with studios.
Now, when you shoot, getting back to your daytime job, when you shoot, do you, follow the whole process, or do you just break out your cameras and start shooting, and then do the post after that?
That's a good question, and we were talking about this a little bit before, and I'll continue on that. It's, again, a multi-part question. When I started inside of Adidas, and as a director, it was good for me. I would write and concept the pieces, direct them, and then see them all the way through post, and post meaning editorial, effects, sound design, color correction, all that kind of stuff. And that was good, because as a director, it's good for you to live with the footage and know what works, what doesn't. In the commercial side, in the U.S. these days, a director is pretty much hired just for the shoot, and then an agency will go off and do the post. It's a little tough sometimes because a lot of times how well a spot turns out is how you put it together in post, and as a director you kind of know what pieces are meant to go with what. In Europe, directors are hired to see it all the way through, so they are paid to see it all the way through post-production. So there's pros and cons. Now, what I didn't say in our last chat was, in the feature world, a director does see it through post. You'll often hear words like first cut or director's cut. They'll shoot the movie, and then they're the first ones to do an edit of the movie, and that's what they turn into the studio. And depending on the deal, there's a bunch of different deals. The studio may have changes or tweaks or be a second edit, but the director is, involved all the way through to complete the film because it's that director's film. It's, and the studios together, they want to see that vision all the way through. So post is a big part of that. In TV, just to make matters one more difficult, I shadowed on a TV show called Covert Affairs on last year's season finale because I'm going to start to break into TV, and I just wanted to see that process. That's very different. In TV, when you've got 16 episodes in a season, a director might only come in for one episode. And that's tough because it's you prepping for a whole week, then you shoot for a week. While you're prepping, the cast is shooting another episode. While you're shooting that episode, another director is prepping the next one because they have to go back to back to back. So a director really can't do more than one at a time or even in a row. So they shoot the show, and then they get maybe 4 or 5 days to deliver a first cut. After that, they probably don't see it anymore, and then the production company finishes the cut. So
how do they get
a billion ways of working.
If that's the case with TV, how do they get consistency with the final product? Does everybody come to them, because everybody directs differently, right?
Everybody directs differently, but TV is a slightly different animal in that a TV production, it's a very odd one. The director is actually the odd person out in that scenario, in that the cast is always the cast, the crew is always the crew, and the producers are a very integral part of that continuity between the show. And oddly enough, not oddly enough, but the cinematographers are often consistent from show to show. And that's kind of your quality insurance, that it's going to look the same from show to show. It's a bit of a different animal for directors because in a TV series, you're stepping into an established framework. And so it's really not your job, and hopefully you can leave your ego at the door, it's not your job to reinvent the wheel. You need to respect the concept of the show. The characters already know their characters, so it's not like you're going to reinvent how they deliver their lines. So it's much more of a shepherding process and making sure that you respect the concept and that episode fits in with the series as a whole. So the director is really an odd one on that one, on a TV series.
Okay. Let's get back to the WWE now. With WWE, how are you creating a commercial, and do you get to talk to the different WWE personalities? How does
Well, as a director, I tend to do, because I started at Adidas, and I started, Kobe Bryant and I actually started together. Funny enough, he was just signed to Adidas. He was still in high school, and I was just starting as a director. So we started directing spots together, and because Kobe became Kobe, I got associated with doing celebrity athletes. So I started getting a lot, everybody from Shaq to Tiger Woods.
Oh, I like that commercial where Kobe is like slapping the little kids.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites. That was fun. I'm glad you like that. So to answer your question, I've kind of got a decent experience in managing the celebrity thing, and I will admit that's different directing a commercial when you've got celebrity talent there, because it becomes more about, you usually have a limited amount of time and you got to get what you can while you have them. In this case, we've got a bunch of the WWE stars. In fact, I don't even know who all is going to be there, but it's going to be like The Undertaker and even Jim McMahon and John Cena, all these big guys. And we'll find out in a couple days which ones we have access to. So I'll work with them, each one of them, for maybe 45 minutes or an hour each, and then bring in the next, barely get to say goodbye before we start working with the next guy. In my experience, in my experience, the WWE guys are amazing. It's contrary to what their image is, they're the sweetest guys on the planet. And they're totally professional because they work so much, and that organization is so well run. They are total professionals. It can be a little different in other leagues, Every league has got its own character, but contrary to what you might think, the WWE is really well run.
So are they athletes or actors?
They are athletes. I know there's always been controversy about this, but if you see what these guys actually do, even if they're acting, it is a physical, demanding thing to do for as long as they do. And I see what these guys go through, and there's no way, and I don't mean to be insulting, no way you or I could survive 5 minutes in that ring with them acting, because acting means real physical pain.
Right.
And those guys, and they're in amazing shape, and they do this night in and night out, and there's a real commitment. And I'm not just trumpeting them to be a nice guy. It's really my respect for them. I see what they go through.
With those personalities, do they go along with some kind of format or some kind of script when you do the commercials, or are you just on freestyle?
Yeah, two things. There's a definite script of the commercial that we're working with, but then each one of these guys has a character, and if you watch the WWE, they have a very established character that they know very well. So we might be doing a little improving based on the characters, and that's what they do really well. But there is a tight script, and in this case, it's I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying it, but it's a funny sort of game of operator. McMahon, who runs the whole WWE, he's in his office, and they're going to move WWE to 8 o'clock. And one of the wrestlers is walking by, and he goes, hey, come in. Could you let the guys know we're moving it to 8? And the guy looks confused and walks out and said, what did he say? So he says to the next guy, maybe the Undertaker's like, I heard we're supposed to work in snakes. Like, snakes? Then yeah, go tell the other guys. And he comes in and goes in the locker room and says, yeah, tonight we're supposed to fall on rakes. So like, and it's total game of operator, so it's kind of comedic. And I love that because they have a sense of humor about themselves. It's very much like that ESPN Sports Center kind of stuff. I probably didn't do the script justice, but that's the basic idea.
Hey, Sheila, who's your favorite character?
My favorite character?
No, Sheila.
On what character? On what? I've been listening.
I don't think you don't strike me as a typical WWE wrestling fan, Sheila.
Well, as far as wrestling, I like the Hulk. But yep, he's now old and classic. But he was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm more like the Sheik or Rowdy Rod Piper. That's
you know what you're talking about.
I don't know these new guys, these new kids.
I don't watch wrestling for.
He's funny.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, WWE is amazing because it's easy to get detached from it, but really it's one of the biggest sports out there. I mean, it's on the West Coast you don't see it as much, but you start going across the United States and there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of fans. In fact, I just heard someone from inside was telling me they have 100 million social network followers. I mean, that's more than any other league.
Wow.
And they're about to do their 1,000th show, which is actually record-breaking in the history of television. There's no one program that's done 1,000 shows. So
really?
Yeah.
This is, I mean, other than NASCAR, this might be one of the biggest sports out there, bigger than NFL, NBA.
Well,
MLB.
let's see. I used to watch that, when my kids were little because they were into the wrestling, and it's amazing what they do because it's all for entertainment as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So it looks like he's going to pummel the guy, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
It makes it look like he is, but he's not.
Yeah. Well, no, that's why I give a lot of respect to these guys. They're incredible athletes, but it's a real talent too. I mean, it's almost insulting to say it's an art form, but it really is. I mean, because it's this amazing choreography with this amazing athleticism, and these guys know what they're doing. I mean, people could die out there if they didn't do their job right. I'm not.
That's
kidding.
right. Yeah.
It's that serious. Yeah.
If they don't hit the mat just right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there going to be any opportunity this week to maybe do a 2 or 3 minute live cast, a G plus hangout with your cell phone?
Yeah, I would love to. We're going to give that a shot. We were talking about it earlier. I'm going to Edwin here, who is my technical guru and social media guru, is going to try and teach the worst Luddite, technically unsavvy person on the planet to do a remote broadcast. So yeah, I'm going to try and take it on the shoot with me and do a few broadcasts.
With your cell phone, though, you cannot do Hangouts on air.
Yeah, well, we'll record it and we'll do a regular hangout.
Yeah, that works. No, that works.
And then if there's airport, I can bring this same computer too.
That would be cool.
I'll try and document a few behind the scenes, and then we'll also be in the arena, and I'll see what's going on and see if I can bring on some of the wrestlers if they'll let me.
Ooh, that would be epic.
Yeah. Do you think any of the wrestlers would be in the Shadow Lurkers movie?
Ooh, that is a great question. I'll do a little casting. While I'm there.
There you go.
Well, think about it. Some of these guys have had huge careers.
You have to network while you're doing all this,
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I got a lot to do. I mean, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, he was one of the WWE's. He's a huge star, and there's a couple other guys. A few of them have made that transition, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if some of them could be a contender. Maybe they could be a Shadow Lurker.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe it could be one of our Shadow Lurkers, because we are kind of meaty. All right, so you get back on Monday-ish?
Yeah. Well, I shoot Monday, but I'm going to take a red eye right after the shoot, so I'll be back in LA late Monday night or early Tuesday.
Okay, and then next week we could expect you pitching, and can we follow you while you pitch, or do we wait until the 8 o'clock update?
Well, let's try a little bit of both. Because it's a little unknown territory for me, let's play it by ear. I'll try and do as much as we can while we're doing it, and then when I can't, we'll just, in the evenings, I'll report back on how the pitches are going.
Yeah, you need to broaden your horizons. You need to branch out. This is a new thing you're doing. Is when you're involving everybody. Not just a cast. You're involving us.
I'm trying. I'm trying my best.
So yeah, I mean, you can forge a new frontier.
Let's see. Fingers crossed. In fact, earlier this week, a couple days ago, I was invited to do a similar Google Plus Hangout with Germany. A Google Plus user in Germany was giving a conference on this whole thing. So there was an auditorium full of people, plus a hangout like this, and he translated. That was interesting. So you know how I tend to just talk and talk and talk. Well, imagine trying to interrupt me and then translate that into German.
Yeah, I saw that where you would talk for 5 minutes and then he would say, wait a second.
Exactly.
Yeah. So cool. So you get back on Tuesday-ish, and your pitches. So we have an idea. It can be at any time. Do they normally give you a day notice, an hour notice?
There'll be like a day notice. I'll have a better, and I'll report back. I'll probably have a better idea after tomorrow's meeting. I have a meeting at William Morris to sort of go over where we're at, and then they'll sort of tell me what they've got lining up. So, and I'll share that with you guys as I get it. Would love to share that. So,
nice.
Who knows? Some of them will be scheduled, and I'll know, and then some of them might be impromptu. Hey, we've got this window. Come on down and talk to us. So that's kind of why I have to really practice. Here's my all the sheets I've been typing and working on. And actually, here's the book I've been working on. I did a printed book, Shadow Lurkers. It's like a children's story.
Oh, cool. The children's story.
Yeah.
Wow.
not exactly a children's story, but it just kind of goes into an outline of everything.
How did you make it so fast? Because you were working on it a few days ago. Now you got the hard copy.
How about that?
He's got his connections, Edwin.
I know. I'm impressed.
Yeah. It's actually I will out myself and admit I'm not as clever as it seems. I'm a Mac guy, and there's an iPhoto, a function where you can put together books, order it, and they got it back to me in a couple days. So.
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that typical? The hard copy, the presentation, or is that just you?
I don't think it's too typical. It's not just me, but I think I'm one of the people that do it because it's nice when you're in a room and I'm pitching an oral rendition of the whole movie, it's easy to walk out of the room and then people forget the salient points. But a book I leave this behind so they each have a book, and it doesn't have the whole pitch in it, but it has sort of the main points. So they can go back and say, oh, yeah, you talked about the Mayan mythology. You talked about how on day 1 before the eclipse, this is what's going to happen, and on day 2, this is going to happen. So I think it's kind of a nice pitching tool. So that's why I've been so busy. And the first week we were doing so many Hangouts, and the second week I was putting that book together, and then these are all my notes for what I should be memorizing, so I'm not reading notes in a presentation. In fact, today over the phone with Peter Stussman, I sort of did a mock presentation. Like I said, it feels like I'm back in school again. I do all this in advertising, but it's a whole new ballgame. So 14 pages worth of notes trying to condense a 2-hour movie into 10 minutes worth of presentation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think, last week there was PitchCon in Los Angeles where hundreds of people pitched to the studio that you're going to be talking to next week.
Yeah.
How many of those people at PitchCon did what you did by creating a hard copy book?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think probably at something like PitchCon, you probably get more unconventional tools used, and it could be everything from a big presentation board to probably people tried lots of things. I think the studios see a fair amount of presentations. It's really just tough to say because in this day and age, the economy is tougher. There's less money out there, and everybody's more careful with the movies they make because they just don't have money to throw away. So we're seeing more extreme, I don't know if that's the right word, but more in-depth tools to try to get a movie made. For example, in the theaters right now, there's a movie called Snow White and the Huntsman, and that's directed by a guy named Rupert Sanders, who's also a commercial director. He's much older than I am. He's been doing it a long time. But he did something very similar to what I did with Shadow Lurkers in that he put together a couple minutes, not of a short film like he did, but of the kinds of effects he would use in the movie. And so more people are having to go to that extreme to get studios to say, oh, I see what your vision is, let's go for it. And it's not the studio's fault, and it's not even something they're demanding. It's just it helps a little bit get an edge over the thousands of other people. Like imagine I'm pitching in a week, and I'm going behind how many thousands of people that were pitching at PitchCon, and it's my job to leave an impression, some sort of lasting impression. So,
interesting.
I'll do whatever I can.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the progress, and I'm sure Sheila is as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Sheila's been here from the start. Actually, Sheila, you get the honor for being the very, very first person we ever spoke to, ever.
Awesome.
Cool. So we're going to make buttons for you or something. I don't know. We'll have to have some sort of honorary Lurker #1 button.
Ooh.
Your badge.
Sure. Keep me in the light, okay?
Yes, in the light. That's the secret to the whole movie. That's the secret to the whole movie. Stay in the light. Stay positive.
Yep.
And any last words, Andrews? And and in addition to that, can you remind people where to watch the trailer at?
Yeah, I mean, last words really are, I can say it like a broken record, but it's very sincere. Please, please, please keep supporting the movie at shadowlurkersmovie.com because it's working and it's really helping and it's amazing. And I'm proud to say a week or so later that the hits and the views and the support of the Google Plus community is why I'm going to be talking to these studios next week. And the more we watch, the more we put those numbers up, the more they're going to pay attention. So please keep telling your friends, pass it around, shadowlurkersmovie.com. Thank you. And thank you, Sheila.
Thank you. It's going to be a fun ride.
We'll keep going. The ride's just beginning.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you, Andrews, and thank you, Sheila. And again, for those of you watching us on YouTube, please watch it at youtube.com/Shadow Lurkers Movie. Thanks, Andrews.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Sweet dreams.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Bye.